Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I thought I would chat with you guys a little bit about why full body training is actually more flexible and less dogmatic than training splits are. So let me put on my +5 out of weaponsmithing, work on skilling up my crafting a little bit, and let's talk about this. And a lot of people don't really think about it this way because they're thinking when people say they train full body that it must mean that the entire body top to bottom or whatever movement patterns they're training are focused upon equally at any given time. Like, right, you do one big exercise for each thing or whatever you're going to do, because a lot of popular full body programs, you do 3 or 4 exercises and you're done, and therefore they're like, you don't get the specialization you might need for weak points and all of that. Whereas I would argue that when we know how frequency and things work, and we know that higher frequency training and bigger exercises both benefit drug-free lifters in terms of just overall size and strength, that really full body has the more potential, and it does allow you to specialize completely, because the whole thing is with full body training, it means that you're doing at least something for your entire body every time you're in the gym. In other words, you're not sitting there saying, okay, this is my arm day, my chest day, my whatever day. But when it comes to specialization, what people need to realize, everything grows based upon total training volume, right? Your total training volume and workload is what's going to impact growth the most for the week, and not so much just about the exercises that you select. So when you start looking at it from that perspective, people are like, well, I need to specialize. Well, if you have an arm day, a chest day, a leg day, or whatever, and you do the same volume for every body part through the week, you're not specializing. That's not specializing at all. Specializing means, or focusing on something means, that you know that something needs more work than another thing. Whether it's an exercise, a movement pattern. Say you realize your bench press is lagging behind your other stuff, so it needs more work. Or you realize your chest is lagging behind the rest of your musculature, and it needs more work, right? So when you look at it from that perspective, specializing means that you would be doing more work through the week for your weakest body parts or movement patterns, and a little less work for your strongest. Well, you can't address that on a body part split. How do you address that on a body part split? Do you throw in a second chest day? In other words, if you're doing a 5-day split, do you add a 6th day for another chest day so that you can double your volume and frequency for your chest and bench press and all of that? That's the only way that would be specializing. Whereas with full body, you could just be doing extra sets of bench or dips, or even throw in flies. If you felt you needed some isolation movement, you could just add that every day. So let's say you're training full body 3 days a week, and you have a weak point, and we're just using bench press movement pattern or chest, a muscle group, as an example. Not saying it has to be this way. You could just increase your volume on that and maybe take something from somewhere else. Let's say your squat way overshadows everything else, and let's say your quad development way overshadows your chest and upper body, right? Because that's where you're at, that's where you balance out. Well, you could come in and you could remove a set of squats every workout, right? So let's say you're doing 5 sets of bench and 5 sets of squats. You could cut a set of squats out and add a set of bench, and add another secondary movement for your chest. It's your weak link. And I think that's what people forget when we're doing full body training. Whatever our weak link is usually something we do extra of at the end of the workout, right? You just add more volume to it every time you train, so that you're getting more growth stimulation every 48 hours or whatever it is on your training frequency. That would actually produce considerably more growth and development than if you just took that 1 day a week in which you did that and added more to it, because it's only going to be for a short period of time throughout the week that you're stimulating more growth. The other thing, when it comes to when we talk about dogmatic, when you think about it from a dogmatic perspective, when people come in and they have something they know needs a little more work, or they want to work on, but it's not the right day. Let's say you realize your squats or your bench press or your quads or your pecs are a weak link for you. How many people, when they're in the mindset of a split, know this is shoulder day? I can't bench, I can't squat. I've got to save my energy. I've got another leg day coming up later, and I got to do 14 or 15 sets. I won't be able to handle squatting today and then come in and do that later. Or I can't do extra benching today. It's my back day. I can't do extra benching, even though you know you need to be doing extra benching or extra chest work or whatever it is that you know you need to do, because that is where your weak link lays. A lot of people are really uncomfortable doing it because they're caught up in the dogmatic idea that you're training a certain body part, you're training a certain movement pattern on this day, and that is what you're supposed to be doing that day. That's rigid, that's dogmatic, and people will definitely get into that mindset. They'll get into that mindset instead of saying, hey, this is my weak link. I need to be working this all the time. I need to be working this all the time. In fact, it could be argued that someone who's doing full body might even need to come in, they could either add extra work for that on that main day or even add some on off days. Just one exercise, one movement pattern. Maybe you've got some stuff at home that would let you do that, and focus on it with even just a lighter weight to train that movement pattern and to re-stimulate some muscle protein synthesis, a little bit of extra volume for that, whatever your weak link is. And that just can be worked in between. You can just add it wherever you want. And that's kind of my point with this, is that I feel that because split routines, people start to feel like, hey, it's this day, this is what I have to do because it's my split, instead of realizing people just did splits to organize stuff to add more volume in one day for a given thing. It was never, the intended idea was never that this is what I work to the exclusion of everything else, but that's the mindset has gone behind splits. And at this point, I feel like they're really rigid and dogmatic. Whereas in full body means, yeah, you're going to come in and train everything. You're not focused on saying, hey, this is my whatever day. You're going to do some of everything. You're going to stimulate some growth and adaptation through your whole body. But I feel like with full body, because you're training everything more frequently, you're keeping muscle protein synthesis elevated, you can specialize very, very easily while still just doing full body. In other words, a full body can be focused on certain muscle groups more because you're just addressing your weaknesses. Again, it flows easier in my opinion. And it's an easier mindset to do that in, because again, people tend to be reluctant on a split routine once they get into the pattern of, hey, I'm on a split, this is my split. They're actually really, really reluctant to train their weakest links every time they come in the gym, right? They're reluctant to do so. In other words, if you know your bench and your chest or your weak link, you should probably be benching on your leg day, on your arm day, on your back day. Whereas on a full body, we already know that. You just need to add more for whatever your weak link is. And that's just the normal practice. It's normal. And therefore, at any given time, a full body might not be a balanced full body. You're going to train according to your needs on each individual day. And actually, that gives you a greater opportunity to correct imbalances than a split does, because you are literally focusing on your weakest link a little more every single time that you train. Right? And I think that actually allows for greater specialization and more ease of specialization than attempting to continue to follow a split. Because the moment you start adding, say, squats every time you train, because that's your weak link, you're no longer really doing a body part split. You're pretty much doing full body at that point, which is really what you need to be doing. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.